We're recording, so
Cool,
it's
I'll keep
okay.
that.
Oh, cool, we've all stopped.
And just bring, I mean, it's a large, much like the Martinborough Pump Park. It's not something that's going to happen immediately.
Right.
It will require lots of consultation with council officers and amenities, and then permitting, and use of the ground and everything. But yeah.
We're agreeing with you.
So that's our plan. And it's, like I said, it's the only community probably without a children's playground.
Can I ask, have you got any plans or draft plans drawn up as yet?
We're currently looking at getting pricing for the playground equipment, and then that would build from there. And I think, again, it would be we really have to work closely with the amenities to work out what size of land we may have available to us, and how they would see the project progressing, and that would dictate cost as well.
Okay, so in the facilities, would you have things like toilets?
There are toilets there.
Yeah, so it's all serviced?
We would certainly want a pedestrian crossing, because at the moment there is not a pedestrian crossing between the campground and the public toilets, which is a bit lacking. But we think we could incorporate all this into, if we're going to have more traffic going across there.
Is that going across council road? Is it?
It's a council road going from one piece of council land to another piece of council.
The licence for a pedestrian crossing is quite expensive. License, but you could do other things. You could do things that are not quite a pedestrian crossing, but have the same effect.
I think then council would apply the correct rules.
Yeah. But we're just trying to do some things in it. But you have a question?
Yeah. Is this, so this has not gone to council yet?
No, it's really a request for funding. We need to know the viability of the project before we really start to spend money on architects or landscaping quotes.
But what land are you talking about, Alex? Like what land, whereabouts is it going? Things like that. I mean, we need to, we also need to know that that council has looked at it. Council has given land towards this first before we even look at how much is actually going to be needed to be put into it.
Yeah, and that's why
feels like we're putting the horse before the cart.
That's why in our
sorry.
I apologise if you haven't been able to read it, but we're saying it's a provisional note taking that we're going to be asking.
Yeah.
There are two pieces of land where there's three pieces of land where this playground could go. All of them council owned, and really that's the discussion with amenities. There is a large area next to the fire brigade, the community building, community hall, which might be ideal. But again,
where they've got the picnic tables at the moment, you mean?
On the other side. On the other side of the building, next to the toilets.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
Yep.
They need to keep the other piece for the marquee that goes up for the big three.
Yes, yeah. I've played at that. I know about the marquee.
So what do you realistically call your time frame?
It depends on, we would like to think we're within 12 months. Once we get the green light from council that it's viable and they're happy for it to go on council land.
So it's 12 months to completion or 12 months to start?
To complete.
Well, Donna said it could be achieved in stages, even depending on how much money we can raise, so we can.
That's what I'm trying to get to. Is are you trying to do it all in one hit, or are you going to try and break it into?
Knowing the speed of council, and people will agree with me on this one, I think before we even started the conversations, the viability, we'd be looking at 3 months minimum.
Yeah.
And thereafter, probably 3 to 6 months for construction and partial construction.
Yeah. And you would look after the maintenance of it?
We would certainly look after the maintenance, as we do with all community facilities out there pretty much.
Right. So the purpose of today is really just to put on our radar. So we know that this is something when we are in a position and pension fund funds are out there, we've got this already there, which is a really
so in the next
have in advance.
And then I'd really like you at that point to consider tagging the next year's funding round as well. On
Yeah, very good. Yeah, right.
Perfect, thank you, because that was the other question. I was like, is this, so really it's just to kind of let us know that this is.
No, it's not.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's an introduction, we take that and look, we'd
Perfect.
love to see any plans you have coming forward.
Yeah.
And share those with us because that'll help us build the case.
It just also to add, the community is very keen to be involved
Yeah,
financially, and we've got some very capable people.
Awesome.
Very qualified.
Absolutely.
we know you've got a very,
But not people who live there all the time, people outside who will do the groundwork.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
yeah, and then that's good. And look, I guess what we'd like to see in your future planning is how much of it is going to be taken locally and how much you're going to get contractors in to do.
Yep.
So where we fit into what we can viably fund if we could.
Yep.
I understand your reasoning to go for two years of request, and that's probably a very viable proposition. We just need to consider under what we're doing, what it is, but it sounds like a worthy cause.
Looks like a nice project.
It's well, if I could request in general business that you have a action item that the council office, amenities officers open a conversation with the Cape Palisade Residents Association regarding liability.
Started.
And that way it doesn't drop off anyone's radar.
Yeah.
Good point.
But again, this is just putting it on our radar. So there's no point in us having an action on there about anything until it actually goes through, right? It needs to come through council first, but now the community board has it on their radar.
I think it starts at the community board pit.
I don't think so.
And
Because there's no land. The land belongs to council, not to the community board. But it's good to know that as far as the funding goes, that's something that we can keep an eye on for when it comes to the funding round. However, until there's that step has been done, but what we could do as the Martinborough Community Board is we could perhaps look at putting a letter in support, something like that.
it probably unnecessary. I mean, there's two ways of approaching it. We will approach the amenities office saying we want to do that. That conversation has more weight if there's an action item saying, can you follow this through and make sure that it's progressing to a point where funding is looked at.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but okay, we'll wait till we talk about.
Yeah, awesome.
Through you, Chair. Each of the community boards has the opportunity to speak at the next council meeting. There's an agenda item, a standing agenda item. This could be something that you speak to, because that's the advocacy role, to advocate for projects that you want to support.
So we could do that. The thing
Mechanism that you could use.
Right, Pip raises a good point about the land. So I think it's quite important that we clarify with the council what lands we're talking about. Now, did I undertake that, or did I read that you were going to do that with an action step to the council?
Totally.
Okay, so we'll leave that to you, and we'll talk around everything else, but leaving you to develop the land option with the council.
I think it's the whole,
Yeah.
the place and what's put on there.
Yeah.
So you're really just asking that we suggest that you engage with the council facilities manager
Yeah. Which
on the
we will.
project.
Sometimes
Yeah.
it's nice
I
to
think-
have that drive from the community
Okay,
board.
yeah.
I think just keep in mind that we would probably, if we did support, we would like to present to council. So if you have your information together for us in a package that we could put together, we'll do that as a presentation to council in support of what you're trying to do.
How many children are we talking about that live
There's so
out?
many tourists.
I was going to say, it's not.
Yeah.
Mainly green.
Yeah. Oh,
3 days.
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
There's a lot of
Great.
children.
Yeah.
Sounds like a nice project.
So thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate that. As Brian still hasn't turned up, it's your turn.
Oh, do you know this is Brian?
Brian's left the building.
Bobby's on the call.
So Louise, we do have, well, there was an email. Did everybody get that?
Yeah.
That Nikki sent out with your presentations?
Yeah.
Oh,
You can speak to the presentation, or you can just speak in a generality to the presentation.
So that material that I sent out was really just background to communications that I've had with the mayor and an official information act request I made in relation to the specific speed review consultation that's about to come out. Now, I don't want to address that because I'll get my opportunity to consult on that in relation to Jellicoe Street.
Yeah.
But there has been a lot of issues around, and I'm talking about Martinborough urban area, a lot of issues around quality of the roading, the noise, the safety, particularly around Dublin Street and Jellicoe Road, because so that was the other reason for putting that information in front of you, just for you to realise that that was traffic count on an isolated day, one day in Jellicoe Street, which happened to be in the school holidays between Easter and Anzac Day, falling weather. So it would have to be about the lowest traffic count you could expect. That traffic count was 4,200 movements.
Ooh.
I'd just like to point out that in the most up-to-date figures for State Highway 53 coming into Martinborough, annual average daily traffic rate, the State Highway 53 from the 5-year period to 2020, i.e. pre-COVID, was less than that figure.
Wow.
It's probably more now. Now that's just information gathering. But really, what was prompted my movement today was I was going to talk to you about how Martinborough is the heart of the community, and we don't want to lose that heart of the village, realising that we also have increased tourism, increased traffic, heavy traffic movements, etc. And then I realised absolutely no point in me doing that. And I'm heartbroken. Absolutely heartbroken.
There's no point in you doing what?
There's no point in me talking to you about ideas for limiting speed around the square,
Right.
or around the wider ring road, or indeed any speed in the district, because the process for setting speed in this district has fallen off the rails.
Yes.
Okay, in December, I don't know why I'm like this, but 15 years ago, I tried to explain to council, do not put a 70k speed limit on Jellicoe Street in the urban zone. 15 years ago, and I had to wait for my chance. Now that's separate, I'll deal with that in the submissions, but my point here is that council officers used international standards, developed guidelines which have been peer-reviewed internationally. Our guidelines are identical to what's happening in Australia. It's been implemented in the States, it's been implemented in places in Europe. It's a methodology for saying this is an appropriate speed. And the process is they come down to the territorial area, and this council is the operator. And the operator doesn't get to make the rules. The operator takes the guidelines, and there is regulations which tell them how to apply the rules. And the council officers came to this council in December and said, this is how the system works. Now, the system tells us this is the appropriate speed for this area. We have funding for this, but part of this process is you need to go out to the community and say, where do you think the priority areas are? And engage with the community, see whether they agree. That's the process. But it says something happened at that council meeting where the operator decided to say, well, we don't like the expert guidance, we're going to substitute our own opinions, and they sent it back. They received two presentations from Waka Kotahi and from someone else about this is how it works, and they said, no, we don't like it, send it back. And now they will go out, the council will now go out and consult on what its opinion is. And I think that is so undemocratic and a complete, in my view, misunderstanding of how the process should work. Now, to be fair, this council is not alone. The entire Wairarapa Council has gazumped this process. and said, well, listen, in March this year, some politician said, listen, too much regulation, let's focus on the essentials. Well, they jumped on that to say, actually, we're not going to consult on this. And I was going to come to you today and say, let's like this idea. Let's take this 30k speed zone around the square. Let's maybe push it out to the ring road, the traffic bypass, and realising that's a big step forward. Maybe we go halfway and we go 40k's for this lovely, within this ring road of the urban area, we make it 40k's. The guidance, international experts would say it should be 30k's. And then I realised today when I went back to the December paper, that's exactly what the council officers had recommended. Realising that there would be public pushback and a need to transition and an understanding, they went to council and said, this is what we think you should do. It could be as low as 30k's given our roads and topography and everything else, but we're going to propose 40k's. There's funding in the budget to do it. We must do the schools, we must do the marae. Let's do this and some other high priority areas. And when I went back to read that, I realised, well, that's exactly what I was going to come to you to suggest today. And I realised, well, there's no point because you don't have a say in this and we're not going to be consulted on this. We're going to be consulted on a very limited thing. And so there's really nothing for me to say except thank you for listening.
It's really sad that you feel like that. You know, it just, it's really, yeah.
15 years I've waited. It's been a generational change.
Yeah. And the chance.
And
yeah. Yeah.
my only hope is that it's not the end of the matter, because the next stage is the council actually has to explain why it's done this and give reasons why it shouldn't be a 30k zone. And I've asked for that and received it.
Can I, I'm just not clear on what, because you've described something, I think you've said, and then you've said it is, it isn't, and is what you're wanting now going to be delivered by council? No. So you still have a requirement to have something else reviewed.
The speed review is still happening.
Yeah, but they're not consulting on this. They're not consulting on the speed limit.
So are you asking to be consulted?
No.
No.
I realise my point because
Well, no, if you feel that there should be a consultation, we can, I think, make a recommendation that a consultation should be considered. We can't tell the council what to do, but we could ask the council that perhaps there's enough interest in the whole speed range. And look, it's part of the national process now at the moment. Everybody's looking at speed limits. And sometimes they're being applied with wisdom and others without. So I don't want to leave you sitting as if you've got nothing to do.
No.
We'd like to be able to say, well, what can we do to support? And if our question to the council is, are you going to consult and should you consult? That's what we'd like to put forward. But I need to know that's the clarity that you want.
Well, that's I've had the meeting with the mayor and basically suggested to him that, and not on this emotional tone, that it was a regulatory process. The mayor is quite clear that the council decides what it will consult on.
I think the council can be influenced. Sorry.
Consultation is a very formal process, it's regulated under legislation. So, and we've got a significance and engagement policy that outlines the trigger points for consultation outside of legislation. So there's really clear guidelines around when consultation happens. And there's a difference between formal consultation where you put a statement of proposal together and you have a formal consultation period where
that's what you're required to do, and that's what the rules require you to do.
Yeah.
But the scope of the consultation should have been on a network-wide thing, not a street by street. And so they said, yeah, we'll consult, but we're only going to consult on what we want to consult on, not on what they should have consulted on. And when you come back, you actually have to explain why we departed from safety appropriate speeds. And I've asked the question. That's going to be interesting. But there we go.
I'm just saying, in the piece,
I haven't been involved deeply in this piece of work. It's not my area. I'm standing in tonight. But I'm pretty sure if when the consultation opens, my understanding is consultation will open towards the end of this month. And we have to have a 1 month window of consultation. If the questions that are being asked in the consultation aren't the ones that you want to answer, there's usually always an opportunity for, do you have any other feedback? And that's the opportunity to, and then obviously if you want to be heard, there will be hearings, and you could always ask to be heard. And that's another opportunity to have a perspective that might be outside of the if you're feeling like it's too narrow.
Can I ask, so as a community board, would we be party to looking as a group what we would like to ask?
Well, I would say, as a community board, if we had sympathy with Louisa's process,
Yeah.
we could offer support to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm reading that we could
Yeah.
do.
So we
Does that cause grief of the council?
No,
No.
the Greytown Community Board submitted recently on an issue that they felt strongly about.
Yeah.
We do have a draft submissions guidelines that's got some instructions around how to make a submission on different things and some guidance on how to pitch an argument or pitch a position.
I think does that give us a pathway to get somewhere to where you want to go?
It does, and I think the important thing is that I have felt heard.
Yeah, well,
But you have been heard.
and by the way, you're right, the funding for that is 52% is NZTA.
And if you look at the original paper that the council officers put up, there's funding carryover from previous years. There's 340,000 set aside for this project, the low cost measures which will improve road safety. So
There's funding there.
this funding's been
Funding.
carried over from previous years.
Tips agree.
Actually, yes, because I take it you watched that meeting, so you saw the meeting,
I did not watch the December meeting, but I watched all
the one in
subsequent.
May.
One in May was the one we're
Yes, I
talking
did
about.
watch one in May.
Yeah, okay. No, because I actually spoke to this, the fact that I believe that there that I believe that there was the need to actually look at putting in place what was being recommended for our town for the speed. And I know if you watch that, so you saw that a lot of what you're saying, I was actually an advocate for. I hear you and I understand where you're coming from, and you're not the only person in Martinborough that is saying this, which is why I say what I say, because I think a lot of these proposals that were put in place by the reviewers, they've done a lot of work right throughout the whole district, right throughout the Wairarapa, including Martinborough, and there were a few things that that needed to be updated and things, but for the most part, my belief is that they really kind of hit the nail on the head for a lot of places, and I wasn't so I'm more than happy to with the Martinborough Community Board to advocate for you for what you are saying, because you're not the only one saying it. Yeah.
That's what I want to get out there, because I'm finding now elderly population. I want my 19-year-old daughter to drive out to Lake Fury at 80 k's. It's safer for the tourists. Now, if the road's empty and someone wants to do 120, I don't have a problem with that. That's personal choice.
Yeah.
I understand that. Look, Louise, we may come back to you. If we make a submission, we may come back to incorporate your input to that.
Yeah.
You're happy with that? Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Wise.
Thank you so much for coming tonight. Much appreciated.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you very much. Yep. Okay, so now we'll move on to the rest of the, very good, before I finish, very good presentations. With the causes, we may have to do a vote at the end on some of these things. Okay, so we'll now go through, I think we need to approve or submit the minutes from the last meeting. I have somebody to propose the minutes of the last meeting. Angela. Seconded by Karen. Good. You got that?
Yep.
I can't comment to anything on that, but I did make a note on one of the things in those minutes.
Aye.
That's right. That's great. No, wrong one. Okay, so we'll pass with those. So now we're open to the chairperson's report. Now, again, I state in here, there may be some things we have to vote on.
Yeah.
If we do take a vote, you get 5 minutes to speak and you get one chance to speak, and then we have the vote. Is everybody happy?
Say it away.
And if that's the process we have to
I'm not very good at following rules.
follow rules.
We'll do our best.
So did you say that we're voting on the chairman's report? What?
The chairman's report, contents of some of the chairman's report.
Points that will.
Yes, we've got to move to receive the chairman's report first. Move it.
Yep.
Yep, and second it. Good, second, well done. Okay,
What have we got?
now, the first item was we were going to discuss the ongoing Payne Farm matter. We did get a response following the presentation that Karen did to council. We did get a response, and the response was from the executive. Has everybody seen that response?
Yeah.
Do we have any comment to make to that response?
Yes, we're still not getting action on the matter of the 100% increase in the overhead costs that was supposedly voted at a council meeting, the minutes of which we haven't been able to find.
Haven't seen them. So look, Amanda's here, but she's not really in a position to answer details on that. So
Yeah.
I don't know that we can
Oh.
be vigorous in looking at, but we can. And this is the point of this meeting. We should say, as part of our minutes, that we want that disclosure
Yes.
as soon as possible. Now, do you know, Amanda, if that's part of the audit process?
What was the question again?
Well, it's the legitimacy of this.
It was the money said it was that the additional cost that we've been, when the charge went up quite considerably.
Yeah.
And the answer, this is from Karen, it was made by resolution in an APLTP process. We want evidence of that
So-
resolution.
Okay, so a resolution for an annual plan adopts the whole annual plan. It doesn't adopt individual components.
So would we see somewhere in the annual plan though, where it says that this is
It'll
the
be in the
new,
financials.
where the new way of doing it is imposed? Because it went from one way to another way, which increased it. quite considerably.
It'll be at a very high level. It won't probably be down to the level of detail that you might be looking at.
We were told that that's how that change was approved.
That it was approved, and so it can't be
Yes.
approved. It could have been, so you're saying it was tucked away inside a big document.
So it's a budget level decision, I imagine. And so the budget level decision would have, I wasn't here.
Yeah.
So I don't know how it was made,
Okay,
but normally a budget level decision would be, here's the budget for this program of work. And then the whole budget, you go through all the programs of work and then the whole budget would be approved as one single thing.
which would explain why no one could remember this coming to the community board or through the council, specifically saying Payne Farm will suddenly have the charges allocated at a considerably different rate. That's what happened, it's just that it jumped so considerably
100%.
that we were trying to work out why. And we just get to, so I've actually went troll through every set of minutes and me for a long time to try and find it.
It wouldn't be at a
It wouldn't go in
Martinborough,
it. We
it
wouldn't
wouldn't
find
go
it.
to a Martinborough.
That was even in council meetings.
But would that be a legitimate way to increase that overhead
I
by
can't-
100%? Well, we have a governance role and nobody in the community board was aware of that.
I can't comment on that decision because I
Okay, but this
wasn't
is
here.
what we want. No, we're not
No.
asking you to, but we're asking for someone to clarify that in a way that we're satisfied with, because we
I
don't.
suppose the question,
I think the question might have to be is, can we just debate the fees that have been charged?
and we change it going forward.
Karen, did you go to the last council meeting and present
Yes,
on
yes,
this?
yes,
So it's with council.
yes, I know, and Paul
Yes, and
undertook that,
Paul has responded.
and this is
We're
responded.
going around in circles, basically.
It's
So
not
what's
a-
the outcome you want?
Well, the outcome is we
You don't want to
like
put
to
it that
know
much
why
in.
the fees have gone up so much. So what are the councils doing now they weren't doing before?
Yep.
And do we have any ability to interrogate those
I
costs?
think it's excessive. We think it's excessive.
Mm.
Why would
It's
it-
gone up significantly and they want to know why. I mean, so really, can we just have someone that breaks down why it's
Yes.
double?
100% increase in
Twenty-three
overhead.
thousand to
Yeah.
40.
Yeah, it's just understanding why, what is the council doing now,
Yeah,
wasn't doing previously to justify that change?
and to
And-
justify that increase and yet nothing when it comes to what it's paying for the dump.
Yeah,
And why was the community board not aware of that? I mean, we have a governance role over this fund. Suddenly the council started taking 100% more overhead fee and we were not consulted.
so the clarity is, we need
Yeah.
to know why is this figure? So it's doubled.
Yep. So
And
what are the
what's
components of
the
that money?
component to that? And if we can't find a valid component reason, we might be wanting to come back and say, maybe you've got to readjust.
Well, we kind of know that it was for personnel, but that cost was always in a different sum before
Yeah.
anyway. Know what I mean? There were no extra
And
services provided.
It's,
It was just
Right.
it was double.
we want the question. So what we'll do out of this debate is that we want the question asked, which will be asked again, but we want to ask the question, how did the figure come to pass that it was now double what it previously was? And can we have a breakdown of that for analysis?
If it was tucked away behind a figure that we couldn't see, that seems very unfair and unjust for us as trying to look over this asset and protect it, that we weren't aware of this. And what we need to do is, okay, even if we can't find that, we need to say, going forward, we don't want to continue at this rate. What can we do to ensure that we look at this now and don't keep charging at what it's been currently charged? Because we just can't afford to pay. We can't afford to take that out of the fund.
No, we're
that's the
suddenly
playground.
giving in. We're
Yeah.
paying out more than what we're getting in, which, I mean, and by we, I'm talking about Payne Farm,
Yeah.
and Payne Estate, and how is this suddenly in the space of these few years that turned all around, that suddenly this has happened? That's not, we'd like the answers.
Yeah.
So, Pep, I'm not sure, but I know one of the big things that happened, and I'm not sure if this is the same time period, is that the house had been refurbed and it had been leased for a very long time, essentially.
Oh, no, this has nothing to do with that, because all of those facts and figures are actually already that they are in the previous accounts. Like we actually saw as the money went towards being, getting all the upkeep and everything like that done.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that then you've got to maintain that level of.
That's
No.
right.
No, but it wasn't, there's nothing to do with the maintenance of the
They
property.
showed you that.
It's the overheads. that the
Yeah.
council-
Okay.
It may be just our council, a
Yeah.
little bit overheads.
Yeah.
and They may have a broad brush to that.
Yeah.
But what we're asking is, what constitutes the now
That's right.
figure?
That's right.
We need to just be able to interrogate that to satisfy ourselves, so it's there, so.
Yeah, I've got an
Okay.
action point.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got an action point here. To understand why the fees have gone up so much, what are the components to that, the reason for it? And do we have any ability to change?
Thank you, it's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
just being able to change it going forward is
Okay,
amazing.
so the second point is, and look, I think we might stumble on this one because I thought the documents were going to change. It's to do with our annual plan. We've got the components together, but we haven't got the document together. So I think we'll leave the discussion till we get all the components. So Angela, it's this sitting with you.
You'll send me I'll send through what I've got.
Yeah.
Even though it's, I think open, you can rehash it. I'd send you through the what I have like this, which we really did condense it quite a way down.
Do you have that in an electronic version?
Only the scanned copy, yes, but I can send you my mixed up one and you might be able to untap it.
Okay,
Yeah,
Scan it.
yeah, because
because what we want to be able to do is just cut and paste it, but without having to.
Just about there. What are we going to have number?
Turn that into an action point for the action plan to redo and send out.
Yeah. And
And
I,
then I want to approve it next meeting.
The
Is
next
that
meeting,
okay?
yeah. I think we've got.
Okay.
their annual planning?
Oh, let's do it without them, because we've agreed on it in principle. haven't we?
Yeah.
It's hard to agree on.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've agreed on.
So let's do everything we can to get it ready for the next meeting to approve and go from there.
Which is in July. So the next stage for the community board annual plans is I will look to share them with the chairs.
Yep.
So Featherston, Greater Martinborough, and we'll look to make sure that they are ready to go up onto the web so that they are available for everyone. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Mm.
Now, did everybody read and understand the third topic?
Sorry?
Did everybody read and understand the third topic?
Annual plans and long-term plans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, so with what you're saying with option 3 is that what you'd like is that someone from council, and really she's sitting at the table tonight because Amanda knows everything. But Amanda's our expert, our SME. She's but basically with the wanting to, so you'd like someone to come to discuss how a long-term plan works and how it feeds into every annual plan. Is that just so to get clarity for the community board, or is that how I'm reading it?
You're getting close. We do annual plans, we do 3-year plans, we do long-term plans. And unfortunately, the long-term plan contains a lot of information, and we would like to know how that filters into reality. So does the long-term plan really govern our way forward, or is it just a guide that we can step away from? And at the moment, I see there's a lot of information going into the long-term plan. It's consuming a huge amount of time, and I wonder how valid it is. What we'd like, and we're asking you now, I think, because you're here, would you like to come along to us with a meeting sometime and just sit down with us and explain the purpose of the long-term plan, how our annual plans fit into it, because we have a separate term plan for us, which is the first stage is getting to know our community. The next stage is building projects that we wish to try and see some fruition on. And the third stage was be actually carrying those through to that completed stage or continuation stage. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is fitting into the actual long-term plans of the region. And so it would be really good. And look, I'm sure, Amanda, you could reduce this to an hour.
Hi, I can give you a very quick high overview in 5 minutes if you want me to do that now.
No, we don't want to do that now. We want a decent approach to this in terms of sitting down and finding out, and we might have some questions from within our own perspective to say, well, where do we fit into this? And how do we fit into this? I was just given some information the other day that suggested that if we're delving into things that were council, not the community board, and I think everything is sort of merged in that. The council and the community boards are working in the same stream. You have responsibilities to the community, as do we, but we just want to make sure that we're not doing things that are outside your scope or our scope. So what I'd like you to do is come back and explain to us, first of all, the annual plans, then the long-term plans, and how we fit into that process.
Is the preference like a workshop in over an hour? Is that what you're saying?
Well, so I'm only saying an hour, but yes, it could be a workshop, would be pretty average that we can interchange.
Yeah. So not a formal meeting,
Not a
much
formal
more,
meeting.
much more of an informal conversation.
And we would like to sort of be able to pull our stuff out and say, this is what we're doing and how's that fitting in. What we'd like to see is what we put in appears in the future.
And I think
as an action.
the devil is always in the detail, and that's the difficulty I've had with the annual plan consultations recently. Just not enough detail. We need 20% more in this, in this operational area. Well, what is it? Why aren't the major capex items stated? Why is it always just sort of 20%?
That's not going to be an hour meeting.
Because to me, the devil's always in the detail, isn't it?
Well, there is quite a bit of that, but are you getting a feel for what we want?
I think so.
Do you got a feel for how we
We've got
describe
to
it?
organise a workshop for LTP.
And I think that's good.
Maybe out of that, we could also look at focusing on some priorities for the Martinborough Community Board over the next year.
So I'll be able to talk to the process and the legislation and the frameworks and the policy documents that we have to create. I won't be able to talk to detailed budgets because that's not my area of expertise.
No, but what does confuses me too is why every year, you've got a long-term plan, but then every annual plan, we've just had a long consultation and it gets changed quite radically. So how can that every year be radically changed and yet we've still got a long-term plan that is capturing?
So that's to ricochet all the way through,
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean, I just don't get it.
So are you happy with Nikki's definition of what we're going to ask you? So we're happy, I don't think we need to vote on that, we've accepted.
No, that's a good idea though. I think it's a great idea because it's nice to know how we feed in.
So
Sorry.
just as an FYI, Katie is currently taking the lead on the preparation of the long-term plan. We've got an outline plan, and we today just scheduled right through to August or September, all the workshops that we need to have with staff, with councillors. We've included one for community boards and the Māori Standing Committee, but that will be a very high level evening 1 hour session. It's not going to be the detail that sounds like you guys want. But so we have thought about.
You could combine it to save you time.
Well, it's not for another couple of months, so
No,
sooner.
because we need to get this through.
I think we need to get it through. So we'll leave it for you to define the time frame, and you understand the width of what we're trying to get to.
Hopefully, yeah.
Oh,
So look, the next topic is one that we may have to vote on. So is everybody familiar with what we're talking about? We're talking about there's been a request for flags for the dark sky.
can I just clarify that? Sorry, Storm, I was the person that requested it. So when it says there was a request, it's not external as such as that. It was when we were looking at our flag schedule and seeing where the gaps were. And I'd spoken with Louise from Greytown and saying, wouldn't it be nice if district wide we all had the same flags for dark sky to promote us as a dark sky reserve, since I've been doing a lot of work on trying to promote what the dark sky reserve actually means. So that's where the dark sky a little bit came in.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's the premise of what we're going to be debating. There's also a secondary that do we want to provide funding to update some of the current flags that are held with the business association? So, and I believe that's because they're a little tardy.
Yeah, that's because they were left up during COVID as a request from the community board, apparently, that they asked, could you leave them up because it looks nice with the flags flying? And it just came in today, the price for that. So Martinborough Business Association, I'm not sure if it would be a rerun or they will provide new app, but it will come to us for approval. But the cost would be
You just might be going to
$640.
might be going to go forward now. So what we're going to do is going to have a chance to speak to this.
Yep. And
you can start the ball rolling. You get 5 minutes if you want to speak. And at the end of it, we're going to have a vote on whether we support what we do. Is that clear?
Both at once?
Well, we'll do one followed by
Okay.
the other. There'll be a vote. If we have a split, we'll split the vote to the two topics.
Oh,
So is everybody comfortable with what we're going to do?
So we're each going to speak on the dark sky flag.
If you want,
I want to.
if you want to, it's not mandated.
Okay.
If you
Yep.
want to, you get to speak.
Yep.
Do you have a little time to speak?
so if I can go first, I spoke to Louise and to the Dark Sky Association. They'd like to defer the dark sky flags till next year.
Oh, yay. So we chuck this one out.
So we don't need to do that one now. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we'll drop the dark sky one. So now we're only talking.
Yeah, so that was quick, wasn't
Chair's report's got a whole lot of holes in it.
it? It came through there.
So as a further discussion point, then do we want to talk about providing funding to update? And the only thing I'll throw into that is, do we know the volume of updates we're doing? Is it?
That's 11 flags.
11 flags.
11 flags.
Do we know the individual cost per flag?
No, we just know 640 plus GST, and that's obviously they're providing artwork or you same artwork, but they'll pay the cost of whatever the artwork is. We're just paying for printing of the flag.
Printing of the flags.
Because normally it's like $1,100 if you're including some of the artwork setups. So it's
Right.
not cheap.
So we'll go back to that point.
Yeah.
If you want to have a say on that, please do so. If you don't have anything to say, we'll just have a vote of whether we want to support that.
Well, I'd like to say I would be strongly in favour of helping the business association replace the flags that did fade out. I think it's great to have them up there. They know that the new rules around the flags, so I think, yeah, I would really think it's great.
I think the flags are a really good addition to the town. on these different events. So yeah, if they've faded, we need new ones.
And sorry, Angela, just to confirm, so we're just replacing the flags that have worn from being held up there. So which flags were they? Were
No,
they?
they had the love local, sleep local, eat
Right.
local, the generic
Okay.
flags. She said they might not use the same flag, but they would pay for the outweigh. And I said it would still need to come to us for approval.
Absolutely,
And she's
absolutely. That's my
completely
only
aware of that.
stipulation, is that we just want it to stay
No
exactly
logos.
with the theme of just, Martinborough.
Yeah, absolutely.
No business,
No specific businesses.
specific-
or anything like that. It's.
Because I showed her we have the policy updated, and it says in that policy now that you can identify individual businesses. So that was sent back as a reminder to Charlotte. We want to help, but remember the rule. The new rules.
And the flags are part of the Martinborough Community Board. So this is really kind of us asking for funding for ourselves. So obviously I'm going to say yes, because the community board, at the end of the day, the flags are still our responsibility. And so for myself, I support the $640 to get replacement flags of the ones that we had that we know have already been approved. And if there is any change with those flags, they will need to come to us for final approval prior to being printed.
Okay, so the only comment I have to make on this is that with the olive flags up at the moment, the township looks a lot better with flags up.
Definitely.
And I would like to see if there's no flag up, we can have a generic Martinborough flag to put up.
Which is what these ones usually.
So they could be the generic flag. So what I'd like to see is that we always have flags there, because it looks a lot better coming in when there's flags fluttering to the township and the thing. So that's all that I'd want to do. So concluded. Want to have
The resolution, maybe?
do you want to have a resolution? Yes, we're just going to do a resolution vote now. So the only thing we're voting on is paying for, which we believe to be $640. Including GST.
It will come in the form of an application from Charlotte so it will come as a proper application again. But this is just that we're agreeing
We're just agreeing to go ahead.
subject to final approval.
And I've also put to provide funding for flags, just want the replacement of the Love Local flags, which will become the generic flags, the Martinborough Community Board, with the provision that the final approval of the design, is that what you're asking?
Changes.
Yeah, if it changes.
If the plans change.
Approval.
Yes.
That's.
Yeah.
Okay.
So are we prepared to vote? All those in favour of supporting the funding? Aye. All those against? Okay, motion carried. Okay. So now we move on to having concluded the chair's report. We've got the reports from the executive staff.
Oh, the tree group.
Oh, sorry, I missed the tree though.
How could you?
Whoa, how could I? Sorry, moving too quick. We may also have to do a vote on this because it's an unusual proposal, because the tree group is not part of any formal group. But do we have to make it a formal group?
It is. We filled in a form.
You filled in it.
I facilitated it.
So is that gone to council?
I gave it to Casey, prior to your tenure, Nikki.
So in fact, what I'm saying then is that you have actually formally applied to be recognised as a group?
I believe so.
Okay.
If somebody wants to let me know if that's not.
You did fill the
vote.
form.
I filled in the form.
The form mean that they are affiliated with the community.
Well, I think the form was to apply, isn't it? Isn't that what I understand?
Was it a grant?
No, it's
No.
no. It's a
No. If you want to start a
subgroup,
subgroup,
like
okay.
right.
I mean, if that's not appropriate. we'll
No, that's
give it
right.
back.
Absolutely, you can do that.
Okay,
Just figuring out if we've got official to go through to do what we're doing. So who approves that? The council approve that, or do we approve it?
Know the process for that.
I've got an action point.
But we probably need some terms of reference. So what does the group do? What are their
I filled it
decisions?
in. I think it's had a few things like that. I mean, if that's not, I haven't got a copy with me right here.
Okay. So we won't be voting on this then at the moment, so we.
Oh, I just wanted to say that assuming that we exist and have some status in the world, the group is intending to present at our next meeting in July.
Yeah.
On a project that we are taking over the management for, basically on behalf of the Wairarapa in conjunction with the Wairarapa Biodiversity Group. So there is an existing project up on this edge of the golf course. And we are managing the development of it further, and we will be presenting at the next, well, not me, but the tree group will present, and it won't be me, but they'll present to our next meeting, and also looking to fill in an application for some funding for consideration at that. Yeah.
Is it tick on the lines we were talking about? Okay.
Oh.
So we won't vote on that at the moment. We just need to clarify, and
Yeah.
question this is to clarify, is the application formally in situ?
Yes.
If it's not, we'll get it formally placed into situ, and then we can go ahead and make a decision on that. But
Yes, we're presenting, they present that at the next
we'll
meeting.
have it done before then, yeah.
To make sure you exist.
Yeah, oh, to make sure we exist.
Yeah.
Make sure everything exists. If it exists, then we're on the right track. Okay. So I think we've now moved past that, haven't we?
Yes.
So now we're going to the reports from the chief executive and staff, and the first one is for the age strategy.
When do we vote on whether we're going to give Charlotte money?
Oh, we'll do that.
We'll do that at the end.
Right, at the end. We moved it. We moved it.
Yeah, this is
Sorry, I'm getting-
nice to do that.
I just saw actually.
So is somebody presenting?
Yep, so Lisa.
Lisa's presenting.
Here we go. So that's Lisa.
Lisa,
They just.
Bye-bye.
who's your?
A little bit late in the day, but today is
Not for us old people.
Elder abuse.
today is the world
Elder abuse.
abuse awareness.
We know about
Day.
elder abuse.
Promising me now by thinking I'm too old to stay up this late.
Had a lot of jokes today, but that was probably the best one. I've just got one more for you, Nikki, that you didn't.
Where's the one? I've got one. Yeah, the other one. They were giving them out. The council's day.
Fantastic.
I'll have one. I'll have one.
Sorry, darling.
Suck this one up. You got this one.
Sorry about that.
Ange, will you drop it off to me tomorrow?
I'll drop it off to her at work tomorrow. I might have to have a gin if I come in there.
Make sure it's late in the afternoon.
Okay.
All right.
So yes, very fortuitous day to be meeting on, so this is great. Thank you very much for allowing me some time on the agenda. I really just wanted to introduce you all to the positive aging strategy. The positive aging strategy is a 3 council strategy. So it runs across the 3 councils, and of course it includes South Wairarapa. The one that we're working to at the moment was established in 2019. And it's on the website, and you've got a link on your paper, and I have a very tatty copy here, and it's purple as well. In fact, it's so tatty I can't even see it. So my work is to support the 3 councils to implement the positive aging strategy. And you will note that I've set out this goal strategy on the paper there. So I don't think you need me to read those out, but they are very consistent with most other strategies nationwide, and including the national strategy for better later lives that the government has. So those goals, out of those goals, we have a number of priority areas that I set my work plan to, and my work plan is also supported by feedback from the community and the community sector, particularly that works with older persons. So I work part-time, and I work 24 hours a week in my admin office. three councils. So, and I come to South Wairarapa on Tuesdays, because I like to actually be in the office, because as you will know, if you've had a look at the strategy, the work of the strategy crosses everything from roads to communications to parks, and a whole range of different things. So actually getting to know the staff is quite critical. And I was very mindful when Alex and the other person were talking that that now when we are looking at parks and playgrounds, that actually we're not just looking at parks and playgrounds for younger people, that we're actually looking at parks and playgrounds for older people. So, but I didn't want to jump in and interrupt there with that topic. So I just wanted to briefly bring it to your attention. I have a little bit of information on the second page around my work plan for 2023, 2024. And the big one, the big ticket, one of the bigger ticket items actually is I've just been appointed onto the Public Transport Advisory Group for Greater Regional Council. So that's a real opportunity to be part of the voice in the transport environment, and also actually only one of two Wairarapa representatives on that committee. So so not only can I represent older people in that committee, I also can do a bit of Wairarapa flag waving or foot stamping as well. So that's one of the things that I'm very excited about, because part of the engagement for the strategy, transport was a pretty critical issue that came from the community. There's a list there, including mobility parking, and I do know that for Greytown that's an issue. So I just really wanted to bring it to attention. I know that there have been a couple of emails that have come to me, and so I wondered whether.
Is there another role within specifically the South Wairarapa? In the same sort of area? Is there, I understood there was another person within the council dealing with the same area, or not? No, you've no, to cover the whole. No, okay, sorry. No, okay.
We do have a community development person who works obviously.
Right.
Overall,
otherwise, you are the person for the whole district.
Well, no. Well, yes, and yes, I am. But actually, the implementation of the strategy is the council-wide strategy. So actually, it's on all staff. It all staff to implement.
Into everything. Yeah, that's right. I understand that.
Yeah. Otherwise, that would be a little bit large. But no, I mean, and of course, because it covers a whole range of different topics within the strategy. So yeah.
Gosh, it's quite a big mandate that you've got. Yeah.
It's okay. No, as I say, it's a shared council strategy, so it's the responsibility of all of us to implement.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for coming in, and I just want to take this opportunity to actually thank our council as well for the work that they did today. And the acknowledgement that with our elderly, if you're not aware, for the rest of the community board members, they actually had baking and took it round to some of our housing, the council housing, just as in recognition of the elderly that live alone. And so it's just reaching out, and they have a face and someone there that they can talk to, you know, if they have any issues and things like that, which is really, really lovely. And I just want to, you know, take my hat off to the council for doing that today in recognition of what today is. And so I just wanted to bring that up firstly. But the other thing is with regards to being on the public transport. Ooh, this makes me really excited, because I've had elderly who are concerned. You know, it's really, really difficult now. The only bank is in Masterton, and a lot of our elderly who suddenly, you know, weren't allowed checkbooks anymore. are worried that they won't remember their PIN. So they catch that bus and they go and get their money out when it comes in, and they're scared. They're really scared of travelling on the bus from Martinborough up to Masterton and back again with money.
Yeah.
And so and I've heard it from a few people who suddenly have gone on to no longer being able, they're suddenly dependent on public transport because they, can no longer drive. So and they want to do that because it gives them a sense of independence, but they're actually quite scared about the fact of travelling on public transport with their money.
With that as well, with because I was working here at the eyesight where people, some elderly people were using the banking hub, but of course if they lose a card or something goes wrong, they can't actually get to the banks, and so and some were really quite stressed by this. It's I actually caught the bus to Masterton because we've just got more buses on the line now. We've got more 200s, and so I caught the bus as an experience to see what it was like to catch the bus to Masterton, and it was a lot more pleasant than I thought it would be, even though the seats were a bit hard, but it was quite a regular bus service, and I think it's just knowing, but again, with that cash in your hand, and I witnessed a lady on Kitchener Street using the ATM machine, and it was windy, and her money blew on the street, and she was and so we were trying to catch the money that was, and I explained to her to do it here because there's a camera watching them here and you are a wee bit safer because you're in a building. But a lot of people still don't realise this one is here and there's a person trained to assist them to actually do that. But we've had, the oldest guy was 92 who was using the machine in here. He came in every week and every second week and used it, then went to the bookie. But it's
and also I partner very closely with digital seniors around the digital, around extending that digital space. But I know for some people, they don't want to go there, or they don't actually have the equipment that they need in terms of a phone or a laptop to actually even enter into that digital space. So I'm hearing absolutely what you're saying. So yes, so can I encourage you to let me know any of those stories that you hear about transport, because I can take that back.
Thank you.
And I've attended one meeting. I've only just been appointed, and I've attended one meeting, and I'm not very shy. So I'm quite happy to put forward things that I hear. So please, happy to receive feedback. Absolutely.
Can I ask you a question? Look, I fully support what you're doing, and considering the objectives, do you think they're meaningful and achievable? And to that, are they delivering? For example, one of the issues in this region is medical. And to the elderly, it gets very difficult. And it's struggling here to catch doctors and appropriately trained people to deal with the medical issues. So are you taking that into the course of what you're doing as far as this?
So one of the goals does cover other organisations. So our relationships and advocacy for other and support of other organisations. I've been trying ever since I've been in the role to get closer to Whata Ora, and that's what with COVID and then of course them turning into Te Whatu Ora, that hasn't been as successful as I would have hoped. But I have made a close relationship with the person in the planning and funding team that is responsible for the older persons area. So, but again, that's a very slow incremental relationship as they come out of COVID and sort of stuff. So, and actually that's something that we can only kind of push and lobby for. I mean, actually the development of better medical services or attracting doctors.
It's the attracting doctors to serve rural locations. It's very difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe we should be pushing for some things. I quite like the idea of medical trainees coming out and being bonded to an area and having that bond shortened by serving time in regional locations that are remote. just because it's good to have medical services on hand.
Yeah.
To do things, and I think we're in a virtually, I'm not about a crisis point, but we're very close to it here. It's very difficult for dealing with, and I think I don't know how our money suggestion that because you've got the strategy, perhaps it's within your scope to actually advocate to who to get that done and get some action on that.
Are there any incentives at the moment for medical qualified people to practice in remote areas?
I don't know. I mean, I could find out, but actually all just as all the councils can do is really just advocate and lobby as opposed to.
Yeah, I understand, but I just wondered if you knew.
No, I don't know. I don't think it's
Some areas we're using housing already provided and those type of things as incentives. And I think that comes down to individual medical centres actually using those strategies. Yeah, I don't.
So I think it's actually nationwide for the rural sector. Yeah. So we're not alone, but that's no comfort for.
No, but if everybody's getting together with the same ideas, it might help. Create some.
One of the big things we've come across here is mobility scooters and the issue of uneven footpaths and pavements, and it's ongoing, the issue that we've got. And so I think I did contact you about this, but at the time, I think it was when you were just getting onto the transport thing or you were quite busy. And it was like trying to have an understanding of what, when someone takes on a mobility scooter, you know, how it works, the process. Is the training given to them at that point in time? Or do they just go, oh, I might have a go on a mobility scooter? Because you get, and there's got big wheeled ones and skinny wheeled ones, and locally, the gentleman from Kitchener's Brews has a little garage full of them, and he lends them to people to have a go to see if he likes them. But what is there something within this that actually looks for how it's so great having the buses, but someone can't get to the bus stops because they can't get out the house.
Well, the other thing would be if you get on a bus with a mobility scooter, what do you do with the mobility?
No, if you could leave it packed here and get on your bus here, would be perfect.
The other end.
So there's a couple of layers to your question there. I'm going to jump to the transport one first. The Greater Regional Council are, just as you are, and I heard you talking before about the long-term plan, they are preparing for their, you can tell I'm a novice, their regional public transport plan, which again is a 3-year. So they're actually just starting to prepare for that as well. And actually the first meeting we had was a conversation, which was a blue sky thinking of the participants, and I talked about kind of the concepts of hubs, and also actually moving away from traditional buses and to vans, because actually, you know, if you're talking about besides the 200, you know, actually we've got sideways transport needs. We've got, you know, we don't all live on a straight line between here and the Marsden Hospital. So I was talking around, you know, moving to more on-demand kind of style services, and they have one at the moment in Tawa. The Metlink is running an on-demand trial in Tawa, and they've also tried one in the Timaru region. So just wanted to add that in terms of mobility, purchase of mobility scooters and what training they get. That's not an area that I have any understanding or expertise in. And in fact, I haven't. That hasn't registered on, you know, because I kind of have my radar around all the time. But I would wonder whether the provider should be giving some training, but there's no kind of like warrant of fitness or driving license. So, and I do think that that there is, you hear conversations about people like, oh my God, the scooter came along and almost knocked me over, but then you also have people on scooters talking about people not considering them. So it's kind of those chicken and egg situations. But I wonder whether the private, like a larger provider, would be providing training, but I don't know. But
it could be interesting, because I feel with, like, for some of them you get very confident people on scooters or you know out and about, and then you've got some who are quite nervous to use them. And it's sad because they feel restricted to go out and add that on top of uneven footpaths. But what we're trying to work out is there a way we can help people, and it might be working out. I would have thought there would have been like the people who provide the scooters would have some sort of training with them to show them how to use them. You know, I wouldn't go and buy a car and they say, you would assume you can drive.
For the manufacturers.
Yeah. So I'm not sure where it should come from or whether it should be a national standard. And maybe there should be like a little course or something they can do and get a little badge, you know, a little flag for the back of it or something.
Sorry.
Is there any funding or subsidy for people who need to use such a?
This, you're sort of getting into people's physical needs, which is actually
so it's more medical.
It's more medical.
Yeah.
You know, the reasons why people use.
Right, so they could
it's
then
not really something that the strategy.
funding of they were in that
It's
position.
not something the strategy
okay.
covers. What I can do is then raise it with age concern to see,
Yeah, maybe age concern might be the best.
to see if they have anything on the radar. But
Yeah,
because given it's kind of a medical situation, it's not something.
Because some of them don't use them for medical reasons. Some of the ones I've seen are not actually like disabled. They're just old and can't walk very fast.
But then they're disabled.
Oh, I suppose so. Yeah. I don't think of them like that. But
No.
I know.
No, but I mean, you've got 59% of our people over 65 have a disability. So they.
But if you felt as an individual that you wouldn't ill, not put mine on that, but you would have been
Really design it in.
it'd be interesting to know what is the funding available. Do you know what I mean? That if you
I think we're probably ending up going down a bit of a rabbit hole.
Oh, that's right, yeah. I know.
I'm just going to go.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question? Do you incorporate consultation with something like St John's? The services they provide here.
I'm hesitating because they've actually had quite a change of staff, quite a regular change of staff, but I have been actually in very close contact with St John's because in particular for two reasons. One, of course, is that they have the health shuttle, which is a fantastic service, and just promote that as you go. But also they have another service which isn't very well known in the Wairarapa, which is it's a phone service. So it's called Care and Caller. And it's very much the same as the Age Concerns visiting service, but it's a phone service. And so, when I first came into this role, it was just after this first lockdown. And so isolation and loneliness was a big part of my mahi. So I kind of was looking at models that were available, and St John's do provide this service, but it had never really been promoted in the Wairarapa. So I worked with them to get a bit more promotion of that service because I don't know if you know, but there's at least 30 people sitting on the waiting list for Age Concerns visiting service. So that was another thing to go, well, like if you're on a waiting list to have a visitor, at least jump on the Care and Caller service.
So how does that work? Without going down another rabbit hole.
What is it? The phone service?
Yeah, Care and Caller.
Care and Caller. So you can basically, if you want to have a phone call, you can ring, you can contact St John's and they will match you with another person who likes to talk.
Okay.
So,
dangerous.
So, and you have a person that you bring, volunteer you once a week, 2 weeks, and if you're somebody who's lonely, you know that you've got somebody who's ringing you once a week or once every 2 weeks.
That sounds really fantastic.
So yeah, that was so. In regard to St John's, I have done quite a lot of work with them, in particular around promoting the Care and Caller service.
Cool.
Okay. Right, I think we need to just thank you for presenting, Lisa. We want to accept the report provided. You need to vote on that. So do we have a seconder for the, thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Lisa. It's a very big category, very big,
Done.
sort of lots of areas you cover.
Well, as I say, it's
In 24 hours.
Yeah.
it's all of council strategy, so it's not just me, it's everybody.
Yeah, everybody comes in.
I'm just here to help. So, yes,
Facilitator,
I facilitate.
coordinate.
And every now and again, I, badger. But yeah, thank you.
Ken says it, got to.
And just, sorry, I should have said before we close, but I'll just jump. We are looking to renew the strategy in the next year, so we will be going back out publicly to have a conversation with our old people to make sure we're on the right track. So look forward to touching base with you regarding that.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you for our presence.
Yes, thank you.
That's all right.
Yeah, I'll get yours.
Sorry, a bit late today. The day's only a few more hours to go.
That's all right.
Okay. Right, moving right along. We have the income and expenditure reports. So I'll now move on that. Do we want to receive the income and expenditure reports? Have a nominator?
I'll move that.
Oh, there you go.
Second it. Angela, your steps.
Yeah.
Okay. So there are a couple of items on that report. First of all, is there anything you want to discuss as part of the report? Everybody get to look at the report, see the numbers.
I have just questioned with finance about.
Where's the Payne Farm report? Where's the income and expenditure for Payne Farm?
I have
Not
said,
attached to this as well.
we normally get that.
Quarterly, it's done quarterly.
So we got-
Is that new, is it? Because
No,
that used to,
it's-
that, so even if it's done quarterly, there should still be one attached to this report as it comes through, so.
So it's the same as the previous one then?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so just as long as it's there, just so it can be looked at as well,
and
until the next one comes.
it's in the policy that it's quarterly.
Yep, that's fine, but we've always had it to refer to with regards to this, all of the income and expenditure just coming through, so it would be really good to just have it attached.
Okay, sorry.
Surplus should be.
That was probably me. So I'll make sure.
No, that's okay, just so then that way it's there for us to refer to as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No.
So does anybody have any questions of the income and expenditure report?
No, I'm talking to finance and just chasing. There is a couple of grants there down the bottom of page 11, Martinborough Youth Trust, the community fireworks grant, 65 remaining. That looks like it was the actual came in under the quote, so that could potentially go back into the grants pool. So I'm just looking at that, and also just following up. It looks like Martinborough Rugby, the tournament attendance for 750 hasn't yet
Has been
come through,
uptaken.
so I'm just following up to see about that as well.
Does anybody know about that?
No, did they miss the previous round and so were holding on to it in case they needed it this year? I'm not sure. I think
It was already committed, so it's just they haven't taken it, so
They haven't uplifted it, Pat.
yeah.
So
maybe I'll have a chat to the rugby club and see if and why they haven't.
Is it Nicole?
Do they not need
It
it?
was for a tournament. It was
Yeah,
actually
no.
for a tournament, wasn't it? But
Let me check. I'll
I
check
can't
it.
remember if if the tournament hadn't gone or I don't know.
Tournament attendance, so it's to go.
we can find the application form.
Just have a look at it. But we can also talk to the rugby club and see what happened to it.
Yeah, it was September, so it was
so it should have been done, eh?
yeah.
Should have been well and truly done.
Well, it's just that because it says it was for a tournament, it makes me wonder if
It was cancelled.
no, if it maybe it missed the date by the time the meeting came, or I don't know.
Anyway, if we have a look at you're going to have a look at the document to see what's still outstanding.
Nikki will.
Yeah.
If anything else comes about, I can go and talk to the rugby club and
Yep.
see
And,
what.
so were you saying that we'd be able to then put the funds back if they're no longer needed? We
If
can
they're
just
no longer
back
needed.
into. Awesome, thank you.
If you're ready to move on, we can consider the application.
Okay, right. So if we're ready to move on, we're just talking about the Matariki Flow Walk. I got the sense we're all in favour of supporting that.
Are we at the grant pack, the financial assistance report,
Yes.
9.4?
9.4 was it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So the point is, do we need to vote on that? Are we want to vote? We will have to vote in the end.
Yeah.
But I get the sense we're supporting it. But the only question I have is, Are we going to support the 500 or are we going to go a bit more for that?
Well, the application is for 500.
Yeah, but that's not filling in the full brief, and I just want to make, I don't want to be stalling for lack of dollars or whatever it may be if we have the facility to extend.
It might be quite nice to, I don't know what everyone else thinks, but maybe to do 2 of the lights as well for them.
Yeah,
Well, we can talk to Charlotte and say, look, we'll do the 500, but we may do, and as you've suggested, 2 lights.
So that would be another $260, so $760.
Yeah. Does that sound like a fair
yeah, we could do that.
solution?
Yeah.
So we'll convey that to Charlotte, that we're happy to support the 500, but we'd also like to volunteers to support 2 lights.
Yeah.
$260 extra.
Yeah.
So maybe that takes a wee bit of a burden off. And when we talk about notification, do you write a note to them? Okay, so
To fill anything else out, or can we just do that?
You can just do
We
that.
can just do it, so we don't need to do anything, we can just let them.
we can just respond to the original.
Yeah, so you
I just you to resolve that you will receive the financial assistance report.
Yep.
And yeah,
So we didn't do that officially. did we?
you know, sorry, I've jumped around a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. we could drop 90. Yeah.
So we've voted to.
To receive the financial assistance.
Okay, so we need to vote to receive the financial assistance report. Anybody in favour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
There you go.
thank you. Right,
Need a resolution to
Increase it.
increase it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And increase it.
Increase it now, or do you want to go back to Charlotte?
Let's just increase it.
Do it, eh?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah, so we
No, she hasn't got it.
Just do it for the full amount, and then if she says that she only needs the 500 and she's already got people that have volunteered or that have paid for a light, I mean, do you know, it wouldn't surprise me if there would be a business that would pay for all like 9 businesses.
That's why I
that would
wondered
pay
why
for
she
that.
didn't apply for a bit more, if you wanted a bit more, but anyway.
I think she felt she was.
She's not like that, that's why, like
Well,
she'll
let's give her a bit more
normally.
then. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
We'll make sure that Charlotte is aware the 500 is fine, and in fact, we're going to go to 260 more, should she want it.
So just for you, Chair, the grants policy indicates that 500 is the usual amount, up to 500. But you're absolutely within your rights to go over that, and other
Oh, I
community
see.
boards
So it's
do as
really-
well.
yeah.
So that's probably why she's applied for the 500.
That makes sense,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
makes sense, okay.
So let me just make sure I've got this correct. So we're going to have a resolution to increase the grant for the Matariki Glow Walk for up to $750 if needed. 650.
$760, it's 130 per light, so.
760.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll just make sure Charlotte's aware of what the differences are, so she can
Yeah, we can-
take it up herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, so can I just get that moved and seconded?
Yeah, move.
So you're going to.
Yeah.
Can I just ask a question on the thing about the Christmas decorations for Martinborough? Do we still, what was the commitment with that, Pip? Do you know? Is it, because it's an annual amount that they were given the $1,000 for the Christmas decorations? But I don't know.
Wait,
Is that still going, or has it finished? I can't tell.
is that the INE report? Hang on, I'll jump back in.
Sorry, that's page 12.
We heard that they had $1,000 with decorations or something.
Well, they have it every year for, but I don't know for how many years. I'm just trying to check.
Yeah.
Does
Do
it
they
mean
need any more?
Does it mean there's some left to spend or not?
No, I don't think so. I think, hang on.
And I remember they had $1,000 and they got those big garlands every year, and they added another one on another year. And because they did the Karahui. That was the $1,000 a year they had.
Last year it was spent, it was committed and spent, I don't see the occurring.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
gone. It's gone.
Yeah,
gone.
no, but I just I said to Charlotte, I thought it had all gone, and she said she thought there was another.
Well, it's not reoccurring.
It's not there.
No.
But that's how it was originally.
Yeah, so if she needs to do it again,
It's
she needs to
finished
make another application.
Through you, Chair, a few of the community boards have committed to ongoing funding to some groups.
Yep.
Yep.
And usually what happens is that ends when your triennium ends.
Okay.
So that would make sense.
So
we
that
could
the
make it
new
a
community
first.
board comes in
Okay.
and then they make a
So that
decision.
would make sense on that, so thank
So
you.
that stopped
That makes sense.
at the last
Yeah. No, it makes
Councillor.
sense.
council,
Yeah, community board.
committee board.
Yeah.
So we're starting,
No, they got one last Christmas though.
But I think that
That
was
was-
under the last
that makes sense.
triennium.
that was the
Yeah.
last one. Last
October, yeah.
They would have committed.
So
that.
she can apply under the beautification fund as well.
Yes, Yeah.
So we maybe need to just remind Charlotte that perhaps if she wants to redo that, she needs to reapply.
yeah. Could just tell us about that.
So I'll just have. a-
That, so she knows it has finished, the Christmas garland decorations finished.
Yep. Okay, so that's that. Right, where are we going to?
That's all done. Anything else?
Action items. Okay, the action items. Everybody read through the action items? There's not that many.
Look, apologies, everybody. I was taking the thing to the Māori Standing Committee, and it was on last Tuesday, and I got COVID, so I couldn't go anywhere except to bed. So I do apologise that I didn't take.
Is that an excuse nowadays?
COVID, no.
I couldn't move.
Yes, no, fair enough. We understand that. So we'll move that still in the same course. So you're looking after that.
It is, and I've got all of the work, and I was going to present it at the Māori Standing Committee meeting, and then.
When's the next one, Pip? When is the next one?
So that is, well, mind you, next one is our just our get together, isn't it? It's more of a.
No, they've done that one, Pip. So the next one's a formal meeting.
Oh, great.
July.
Okay, well.
That's next week.
The one that we have in July, then.
Yeah, just so I know when it's.
You'll move it up.
Am I able to just put something in there to speak to that for the Martinborough Community Board?
By all means.
Because I'm also on the Māori Standing Committee, so I will definitely be at that meeting. But if there's something, and I can provide, I think Katie's got a copy, but I don't know whether or not she's passed it on to you, because she took photocopies for me to have as well. But just that way they've got some information. Thank you. But let me know, and I'll provide you with whatever you need as well.
Oh. So do we on the point of the sign at Bidwell's Cutting, I did mention this to Pip too, is David Kershaw had a conversation with, and he was saying about we can run it as an article in the Star with the picture of it, and just see if anyone remembers the original one, if anyone else has got anything to say. Should we wait to see what we get back from the Māori Standing Committee and then decide, just so we can try and finalise?
No, if you want to put something in the Martinborough Star as well, to have an understanding of what the previous one looked like, because really what we're going to the Māori Standing Committee with is you saw with the information that was there about, you know, anyone that might be able to provide something with regards to the canoes, with regards to Lake Wanoki and things like that. So filling in that part. But if there was something there that may have been mentioned that we don't want to miss that either.
No, so can I just pop it in and just as a for feedback if anybody's got
if anyone has any pictures of it or
cool. I'll because David said they'd be happy to do it as a little editorial with the picture and just to get interest as well. And
is that David who's running the Martinborough Star now?
Yeah, David normally does the advertising, but Ray Lilly does a lot of the articles and things too. But David thought it was a good idea to maybe pop it in there, because I asked him if he remembered the original one. But it's just disappeared and no one knows.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Thanks, Ange.
I'll follow that up as well. Yeah.
Okay. So the next action one, I think, is 030. And I think that might be with Stefan in actual fact. It's going to to review the, I haven't got anything on this, the reserve management of the Martinborough Square. He was going to come back to something with that.
Wasn't he? Yeah.
So I think we'll just have to keep that open. And maybe next time, because I don't think Stefan gave you any instructions, did he?
No, but I do know about the reserve management plans. I talked to James about them today. That was taken out of the annual plan budget. So the reserve management plans, there's no budget to do that work.
We're not doing that now. Not this year anyway.
So I think the question was more around, wasn't it, that there was a plan in 2011 and 2012, and we're not sure what's happened to those. So the question to Stefan was,
What's the plan?
Status of the actual plan?
Yeah, there's various documents.
It's out of date.
Out of date.
But what happened to get it out of date? Because it should have had some action on it and can't see any record of any action.
No actions happened, I don't believe. That's the issue, is there's
That's one
been
of the
no
old ones.
funding.
No, that's how the
been
chairs, you know,
allocated to
But
it.
it wasn't so much about the funding, it was about the plan.
The
So
plan.
for example, I think some lights went up on Ohio that weren't within the plan, but they went up anyway. So the question was asked, why did they go up?
Okay, I don't know about that.
Well, that's what I think.
Okay, so we have to keep it current.
So
keep this.
we're going to keep it in the thing, because I think we need to get,
There is,
if there is no plan, then we need to do a new plan.
And I
so
understood
the
the
reserve management plans are under the Reserve Management Act.
Yeah.
And there's a reserve development plan and a reserve management plan.
Yeah.
They
But
have-
it doesn't just cover the square, it's because it covers the little wee part right through and those little, you know, little wee roads.
That was
As
the
well.
Union Jack image of the square. That's-
Right.
Reserve management plans for all of our reserves. We have, and they're on our website. You can see them on our websites. The plans are on our website. They are incredibly out of date. Some of them are 20 years old. They are technically meant to be reviewed every 5 years. The review process is very comprehensive. It's outlined in the Reserve Management Act. And it requires consultation. There's a whole big lengthy process that you have to go through to get the reserve management plans. We initially put budget in for those plans to be reviewed. And that was one of the things that came out during the get things down to as low as possible.
So I'm left for are we appropriately charged with creating a new plan, or is that a council proposition?
Reserve management plans can be delegated to community boards, but the work to review them is council officers.
Okay, well, look, is it something we should, who do we talk to in the council? Is it Stefan again, or is it somebody
It
else?
sits with James, so that he's in Stefan's team.
So should we try and arrange a separate connection with James to say, look, we would like to reinvigorate the plan? And I think we don't want to go back and invent the wheel, but let's see if we can update what's there to
So
current.
updating a plan is a legal process that you have
Yeah.
to go through. So that's what I mean. That
It
piece of
sounds
work.
impenetrable. So it sounds dysfunctional, the whole system, doesn't it?
Reserve management plans are really complex.
Yeah, well, it just sounds like some of that sort of bureaucracy that probably should be thrown away. It's dysfunctional.
It's central government.
Yes, I understand, but it means
And
that
it's-
we're left with a system that in reality is dysfunctional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing is, all councils that are big, like
Yeah.
Hamilton or Auckland, they've got the same
Yeah.
requirements as a tiny council.
That's
like
right,
us.
yeah.
And we just don't have.
Let's just be anarchists. We can make our own rules about what happens in the square.
Well, look, no, there's nothing wrong with suggesting that.
Yeah, I think we should.
I'm all for picking a system if it's not working. But what I'm just sort of saying is, should we be sitting down with James and say, look, James, we want,
Absolutely.
Can we look at it
we wanna
and see
do
what
this.
works, what
That's
doesn't?
not working.
can we just put on the meeting that we would like to meet with James to discuss the plans that were and what can we do?
They're still
about
current.
that?
They haven't been.
No,
disclosed.
there's been no change to them, I understand, but they've just dropped into a hole.
Well, that they, the ones that exist.
And they're on the
They're
website.
They stand.
on the website.
Yeah,
The
so
reserve
that, and
management
that's,
plans are on the
and that's
website.
for Memorial Square, Constantine
Yeah, I can show you right now where they are.
The little one around that way.
I
Yep,
don't know.
all-
I think they're all covered, but I'm more concerned about the Memorial Square one. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's-
It'd be interesting just to bear in mind with Constantine, if we want to do a plan for Constantine Park going forward, it'd be good to know where we're at with that.
I was going to see what's there.
Yeah.
So
It's done on the square, hasn't there, designs? That's not.
So this
within
is,
that framework.
so you go into the plan
Yeah.
section of the website, and then down the very bottom, it's got,
Yeah, I have seen that.
so there's Martinborough, so there's
Yes,
a.
I printed out for Constantine Park.
So there's a management plan and a development plan.
And the
and
picture on it looks
management
really
plan.
old fashioned when you look
Yep.
at it, doesn't it? It looks really dated.
Yep.
But-
So what's that other document that we've
Yeah,
got?
look at the pictures.
We've got another document that
But
was.
I think with regards to those, so I mean, maybe we can just hold, if we just put those through exactly how Storm said about
Yeah.
just asking him to come and yeah, I agree with that too, so.
Good idea. Yeah, cool.
Also, I've updated the action to include meet with James.
Perfect.
Go from there.
Cool.
Okay, now, the last item, because all the others have been action.
They haven't actually, because if you look at Payne Farm, I mean, as far as what Karen's done, I guess, but
We'll treat Payne Farm separate because we're
we haven't really, it's
No.
not closed. is it?
separate, because it's not closed.
Okay, cool.
We're monitoring that.
That's what it says here.
Yeah, I know, but we're monitoring it a different way. We've got a separate item here.
Okay.
So the last one is for to look at the funding. So what we're saying is, and I think we discussed this earlier, you were going to confirm we have them as a application or
Or the tree group.
Subcommittee.
subcommittee.
Yes.
So once we've decided that, then we can raise at the next meeting whether we're prepared to do any funding for them to set this plan. in
So you can
place.
still provide.
It is an action.
Send the next one.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking.
Well, it's really just a continuation of this, just updating that.
To put an update in there.
We're just wondering if they exist, and if they exist,
But further to that, we will have a little bit of detail about if the tree group is allocated, were to be allocated any funds, how they could be paid out. Because it's not.
we can do it in breadcrumbs.
So, through you, Chair, we don't tend to hold funds on behalf
No.
of organisations. It gets
No.
really flat.
Yeah.
But what you could do is find, I don't know if the other group we're talking about have a bank account.
They do.
Great.
They have a
Maybe you
really
could do
big
it
bank
through
account. I've seen their bank account.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe-
$16,000.
So if they're willing to be like hosts,
Okay.
We'll do it that way.
Yeah,
That makes
yeah,
sense.
we can
That's
have
it.
it, so,
Let's
yeah.
do it that way.
It solves the problem, okay?
Now they're an incorporated society. I checked.
Anybody else to comment on that?
Sorry, can I just ask item 165 on the action report dated 8th of June? So that's been added, obviously, on the 8th of June. The clarification
Oh,
why member salaries are over budget. And it says it includes community board salaries, communication allowance, 20% of personnel costs. What does that mean?
So I'm just trying
Oh,
to,
it's you. Oh, cool.
just trying to see what's it.
All right, we don't mind then. Just checking. I thought it might have been Amanda.
I do get,
It might have been higher than that.
I do get, my salary gets like
Split up.
split up across
Yeah, yeah,
all the
cool.
governance
Yeah.
things, but particularly.
No,
for
so I
community
just
boards,
didn't
it's
understand what it
snacking.
meant. So, yeah.
Yeah,
If they'd have put me down, I would have
and or Katie and
Okay.
or Amy,
been.
or Amy sits in the committee, so
Okay.
who's up. We
Yeah,
just
so
split
that
it
makes
up.
sense. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, Amanda basically has a whole group of rock stars that work for her.
cool.
We received the voting reports.
Okay, yes, just need to receive the action item reports.
Yep.
Second. Karen.
Fine.
Okay, I've got that.
Great.
So did we put something down regarding the speed?
We've got to vote on those.
We haven't got there yet.
Oh, okay.
So we'd finished.
Getting ahead.
Yeah.
So we're coming back to those now. because
Yeah, cool.
those-
Yes.
Public excluded, so we.
So when we go to public excluded, I'll turn off the
YouTube.
YouTube, but continue the recording.
Continue the
Are we going to cover off the the first though, the playground and the before we
Can we
Yeah.
do that first?
Do we do
Next
that
choice?
first?
Yeah,
Yeah,
rather than-
I'll do that first.
yeah, rather than going to public excluded.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got, I think we've got 2 votes, haven't we? Or we've got 3 votes.
we sorted Constantine. Well, we've sorted out Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. The first one is for Charlotte. I think we can,
Done that.
voted for that.
Yeah.
We agreed?
Yeah.
So we can flick that one off.
Yeah.
The second one for Louise. Do we support working with her to make a submission?
What she raised, like I say, what she had raised were concerns I had already had, which is why my concerns had been put to council to that meeting. And so it was really good to actually have her say that she knew that. So it was a bit of a funny meeting, I must admit. I think you were there anyway, weren't you, Storm? You were there.
Yep. It was a strange.
It was
So,
strange. I watched it.
so I mean, it's more.
List of strange meetings, shall we?
I think that we need to kind of just say that, you know, our concerns and with the numbers, she's exactly right. Like the numbers have gone through the roof of how many people were, you know, using that road, even as a bypass or not, like, you know, down that Dublin.
Talking about a Jellicoe component.
Yeah.
It's a very heavily utilised road.
And all the way down there, you know, like it does need to be slowed down. I believe that. I think that with the heavy traffic and on there, that we do need to look at that.
So what is preventing that happening in actual fact?
Well, the thing about it is you can, the program that they presented was about changing the speeds.
Right.
Now, the thing
Consulting on changes.
consulting on changing speeds, but if you change the speed, I mean,
Well, to be fair, Carterton had already done this. Like, so Carterton had already consulted, I believe, isn't that?
No, they'd approved the consultation document. They'd already
Yes.
approved the consultation document.
Yeah, and I wanted to approve the but I don't think the consultation document was approved. Yeah, it was So yeah.
We've got another
the thing
dysfunction.
about it is consulting on the speeds. The outcome being to change the speed zones does not actually impact people's driving behaviour. And so that's the thing you've got to think about.
It's got to be enforced, doesn't it?
Well, I was talking to Stefan about those things. You can do things on a temporary basis or full-time basis to reinforce the speed change. And maybe we need to look further at that and saying, well, when we're going to do a major change to speed to a zone, we need to have something else reinforcing it temporarily or for a period of time that gives rise to the change.
But I mean, if you had a raised pedestrian crossing at Venice Street, and you had a raised pedestrian crossing
Max, the
other side of Dublin Street, where you know, was it south or north? You know, on the far side of Dublin Street, so the children coming to go to school that way can cross, can go across. The other children would use the Venice Street crossing to be able to get to on the right side of the road. The ones coming from further away, from down towards Esther and those ones, they'd be able to cross there safely and to go across for the school. And if those were raised, it automatically make traffic slow down.
It's like a really good idea.
Yeah, totally.
So,
And I think keeping it simple, that it's a perimeter, that everything within that perimeter is one speed, just makes so much more sense. And it's like, welcome to Martinborough or Waihinga, and
we have the signs that explain that the school's there,
It's easy. Yeah, it is easy.
So I think what we're getting to is to support with Louisa's submission.
Yeah.
And we can get a document to fill out the submission.
Yeah.
They haven't opened yet, so it'll be in a few, next week or the week after.
Okay, so
and it would be really nice to just put something together, and I think so. And let's talk to her as well too. See how she looks at it. But you'll see, if you have a look at the report that was shown, it just made sense. We have, and as the Martinborough Community Board, we have the rural areas in our ward. So we have those Pirinua School.
Yeah.
We have Kahutara School. We have, and I felt like, we need to be able to, because to me, 70 on those places when there's a school there just doesn't cut it, it's just too fast.
But other things where if you're going to do those, you do need to slow.
Yeah.
And with other means, it's not just a.
but I don't think anybody.
And I can tell you right now, the land guild love it. The land guild would love it if we slowed it down a little bit more as well, because it's pretty fast going.
It's faster.
Okay,
there as well.
Yeah.
So moving on, we do support. We're then going to say we're going to support Louisa's submission, or are we going to have Louise support our submission?
I think we should put in a submission
I think we should.
and have Louise is as part of that because.
Okay, so but I'm just on the. is it-
Yeah, I know which way,
But was
yeah.
she saying, she was almost saying she was going to give up?
Well, no, she's not giving up. The things have been changed. What we're trying to do is make a submission to say
I understand.
they need to be opened.
Yeah.
Make a submission,
Yes,
and
I
I
think we
think
should.
Louise
I think we should.
has the option of
So-
separately, I think, part of
So
our. Yeah.
we'll do the submission, but we'll use,
Yeah.
because she's done a lot of work.
Why don't we invite her to be part of our?
She should be part of our submission as
I think-
support from the.
And
Yeah.
she may wish to also submit herself, and that's fine too.
Yeah,
So what is a resolution today?
Yeah, it's probably a good idea to put in a resolution because in case the submission closes before your next meeting. I
oh,
don't know
yeah,
the
totally,
open
yeah,
close
yeah,
dates,
yeah.
So that you delegate the responsibility of the sign off of the submission to your chair,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah.
And you get confirmation via email, so you send your submission to the whole group.
Yeah.
You all say, yes, we're happy
totally.
with that, and then Storm would submit it.
It's got to write it.
What was that?
No, well, there's a form to do it.
Oh, is it a form?
There's a-
I just usually.
It's usually.
Okay, so we just need to move that resolution.
Yes.
Second,
Yeah,
good, thank you. Now we move into the public excluded.
Are we talking, do we have to talk about the playground?
well, I don't know how much we can do, and like I say, I feel like we were being asked to put the cart before the horse.
Yeah, it's just on our radar. We know now that there will be.
Exactly, and it's good to know, and we'll be able to look at it, but until it actually goes through and they
But we
have
need-
land there, because
we
they
just
were
make a
saying
note
that
to
there's
it to
several
let them know?
pieces of land. They were saying that there's several pieces of land, but where they decide that would then mean where the crossing would go, all those types of things. We can't,
Yeah,
there
look,
can't be any scope until that first part is decided. And I mean, I absolutely, I don't actually have a problem with any of this,
No.
except that we just need to keep an eye on that Payne Farm account because it seems there's way more going out than there is coming in. And we need to be really careful.
I know that
Yeah,
we've already
totally.
talked on that topic, but the lease is something we should, for the farm.
Well, yeah, but that's,
Can I just call a stop to that now? We're going to, my take from the Palliser group, Nawi group, was that they're going away to do more work. We're not going to do anything else because they have got to clarify stuff with council. So I
Okay.
don't, there's any point in us doing anything until they've come back to clarify.
okay, thank you, Storm. I agree with that. My mum turned up just when they were talking at the end and my dogs went ballistic, so I couldn't hear anything of the last part of theirs. So I wasn't quite sure where that ended up, so.
So we won't be voting on it. We'll just wait for them to come back.
And as for funding, you'd expect it to be more specific what the money's
Oh, they will,
for.
they will.
Yes, so there's things to answer. So
Vague, yeah.
we'll call that quick there.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. So now we're going to public exclusion. Do we need to move anything? No.
We just need to. Here we go, public, I'd like to move that we now move into public excluded.
Okay.
for Reasons from the agenda.
So we're going to move to public excluded.
Sign.
I'll second that.
Okay. To be signed, delivered. We need to stop the
And then we just need to stop.
recording. Oh, no, not recording.
I can stand out front anyway.